and welcome back to my channel if you're a returning subscriber. If not, welcome. My name is Tamsin and I am the artist behind Ionea Illustrations. In this video today I'm going to show you how I made my watercolour palette, my personal watercolour palette, by mixing my mijello Mission Gold watercolours, which came in a set of 24 for I think it's about £60 off of Amazon. I also bought this watercolour palette, this empty watercolour palette with these half pans that came with it. This is the Meeden travel palette, which is also from Amazon, and I think this was roughly around £10, but I will link it again down below so that you can see and get an idea for it. This palette also came in blue, I think, like a sort of pastel-y sky blue. I'm not sure if it came in any other colours, but I went for purple because that's just sort of the colour that, well, it's my favourite colour, and it also is like the colour of Ionea Illustrations in a way, in a weird way. And here I am basically making my reference sheets. This is to basically look back on when I need to paint a piece of artwork, just so I know what each colour looks like when it's on the paper. And it just makes it a bit easier to pick out what colour you're going to use, and generally they don't really match up that well to me anyway. Like if you look at it in the palette, it looks a little bit different when it's on the page. Maybe not to everyone, but to me that's how I sort of see it, so I just like to have this handy for a quick reference. Can't fault this watercolour palette at all. It was really amazing. It's really quite sturdy. It's not a massive paint palette, but it's also not small, so it's quite easy to take travelling with you, but like good enough to store the right amount of paints to use normally. And here is the Mission Gold mijello watercolour paints. This is the box that comes with it. It's really quite sturdy, and it's got a handy little booklet inside which shows you all the different colours you can get, which makes it easier to sort of pick out different colours separately rather than buying a whole pack of them. You can just sort of order them separately just by looking at this colour chart. I wish I had all these colours, but I only picked the one with 24 because I wanted to be cheap, so they are quite expensive. I'm not so sure that I would buy them again. A few little facts about it, or one fact that I know about it, is that unfortunately mijello Mission Gold watercolour paints are not vegan. They contain honey in them, and if I had known that at the time of purchasing, I would not have bought them, as I am a vegan myself, but it's just something to think about if you are a vegan. They are not vegan friendly. The honey also makes it quite sticky in the paint palette and means that it won't ever fully dry, which I think to me is another con of it. It's another sort of downside to it, because ideally for watercolours you want them to fully dry out. And here is my daughter's hand feeling the paints and then having a look at the little booklet of colours. She's a little mini artist herself, so she loves this kind of stuff. So the pros of this watercolour set is that the colours are extremely vibrant, but that kind of is a bad point in itself. Because what I found was when mixing them, as I am doing here, they're a bit too vibrant and they don't really mix that well together. So here I'm mixing my 3 different colours that I'd usually use with my Winsor & Newton, and as you can see with this, it comes out looking quite green, a very vibrant green, but yeah, still, so I used a yellow, a darker yellow, a blue and a red to make that, and it turned out a mess. So this sort of just taught me that you needed to have the tiniest amount when mixing the colours together to get the desired colour that you have in your mind. And that's sort of what I was doing with this paint palette, is I got the set of paints so that I could then mix my own colours, and that makes it quite personal to you, and sort of is kind of the reason behind making your own watercolour palette. So here is my first skin pan. I am adding tiny little bits of colour to it to sort of change it, as I was not really sure how much a little piece of paint was going to affect it from my first test on the palette. With this watercolour palette that I made, I left it for about 3 days to dry, and even then the watercolour pans that I did straight from the tubes without mixing them, so I think I used one of the purples, one of the blues, they are still not fully dry. They have dried more than they were when I first put them in the pan, but they have a sticky sort of texture to it, and that's just purely down to the honey, from what I've researched anyway. So yeah, I'm not so sure they're brilliant for that. I've never used watercolour tubes to literally just paint straight from the tube. I don't think that really appeals to me. I'm not sure if it does to other artists, but if you are buying these literally to mix or to put in a palette, then I'd probably advise against it, unless you don't mind the sticky sort of feeling that comes with it. So I used a scrap piece of hot press watercolour paper just to test how some of the colours would look, and with one of them I think it was a little bit too yellow, so I was trying to add a bit more colour in there to make it a little bit cooler and a bit more skin toned. One thing I realised after doing my first pan was that I actually needed to start with a good helping of white in the pan for my lighter colours, and then to mix in a small amount of my more vibrant colours to it, to get the sort of desired colour I was after. I found that mixing it without the white just gave me what you see in that paint palette, just a very vibrant mess. And also having the white, in the pan first, I think helps fill the pan as well. So if I was to do this again, well, my tip would be buy an extra tube of the paint, the white paint that you are going to get from your paint set. Buy an extra one, as well as one that comes with it, just so that you have more for mixing, because what I did with this is I ended up having to add gouache with this one that I'm doing now. It was supposed to be a skin colour one, and it ended up looking really purple, so I put that aside for my purple section. But with the gouache, so I ended up adding gouache to some of them because I ran out of all my white watercolour tubes, so I had to use something else, because I'm impatient and I couldn't wait to just either order some in or go out and buy some, so I had to do it there and then, and that is why I used gouache. And actually it wasn't too bad. It makes the pan dry a little bit drier, but it does give it a bit more of grainy texture. The one thing I was worried about adding gouache to the watercolours was that it was going to end up not being able to, re-wet and then put on the paper. But actually, it was fine. It was fine doing that. There's no issues. So if you do need to use gouache, then I think as long as you're not using too much and you're mixing in the watercolours anyway, then it's not too much of an issue. But it depends what watercolours you're using and what gouache you're using, I guess. It's really just trial and error. That's what I found with this. And I think if I was going to do this again, I would use different paints and do a little bit more research into what the paint actually contains and how it dries in a pan, and not just go for what I think is the best paints without actually ever testing them in my life, just from people saying it. So as you can see in this example that I'm going to bring up on the screen now, this is the difference between the watercolours that I used before, which are Winsor & Newton, and the Mijello Mission Gold watercolour paints. As you can see, they are both quite different in their vibrancy, and the first painting, which is that one on the right that I used with Mijello, was extremely vibrant and much more vibrant than I'm used to, but I actually really liked it. The only thing with using really vibrant watercolours is, I don't know if other people do this, maybe it's just me, but I don't tend to empty my water jar as often as I should, and I think that's probably why some of my paintings before have not come out the most vibrant. So yeah, with these colours, I had to rinse out the jar quite a lot and re-top up the water, etc. So much so that I think I might buy something that has, you know, like 4 containers or 4 tubs or something joined together that I can just you know, put equal amounts of water in, and then I don't need to keep getting up to change the water. So here I am making the purple palettes, which are personally my favourite part of it because my favourite colour is purple. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. It was really fun to make these colours. I think at this point I kind of got the hang of it. And here's the blue. The blues and greens that I'm doing here. For a few of these I just purely mixed, well, I didn't mix, sorry, I purely put in a tube of paint into the pan. So I didn't actually record the reference sheet, but it's something that you should have handy, and you should, you know, so what I did was I basically went through all the colours once they were in my palette, and I put them in the matching squares that I drew out before so that I can go back and reference it easily. By the end of this I didn't actually use that much paint. You know, there's still a fair bit left in some of the tubes. Obviously I used pretty much all the white, but yeah, the rest were not too bad. I think I could probably make another palette out of the rest, if I'm honest. So I think to take away from this, if you're going to make your own watercolour palette, or you know, you want to make a personal watercolour palette, then my tip to you is to do research on the paints you're going to be using, to test it out on a separate palette before, and make your reference sheets, and make sure you are fully happy with how the paints, you know, are, how they dry, how they look. And I would probably get an extra white if you're planning on doing lighter colours, like filling up your tray with quite a lot of lighter colours. So that's like my pastel purple, pastel blues. Yeah, so you probably will need an extra tube of white of whichever paint you do buy. Anyway, I hope you guys loved this video. Please subscribe, it would mean so much to me, and I hope this helped you guys with making your own watercolour palette. Thanks so much, you guys. Bye!